From Hogwarts halls to a classroom call, a shield and a wand, yeah, we're bringing it all. One's got the stars, one's got the spells, teaching with passion, you know it so well. Magic and might, brains and brawn, dropping that knowledge, come learn along with Brian and Chandler. The lesson is strong, education's our mission, so let's move on. Magic and might, brains and brawn, dropping that knowledge, come learn along with Brian and Chandler. The lesson is strong, education's our mission, so let's move on. Come learn along with Brian and Chandler. The lesson is strong, education's our mission, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Hello and welcome to
Nerducators.
That's us. I'm Chandler and
I'm Russell.
yeah, we practiced that. That's something we really practiced. Look at how good that was.
Yeah, we're getting good at this. We're basically pros.
Oh my God, we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with our check-in for
Okay.
the week. Personal for you. What's going on? What's good?
I caught some grief. Our first episode. I have two things real quick.
Oh, there you go.
So, for those of you who tuned in to the first episode, I used the phrase life-altering event, I think 140 times in about a 30-second span, so I'd like to apologize for that. I know other words also.
You don't need to use other words, says the English teacher to the math teacher.
Yeah. And then the other thing I caught was that I didn't tell everyone my cat's name.
Oh.
That I just said, we got a cat and
You
blah,
gotta
blah,
tell
and
the
I
cat's name.
I thought I did know. I did. You know what I'm just realizing? I did, but I called him Logan.
Oh.
And I have a friend, so we have a friend who fosters kittens and then gives them out to whoever, or give back to the shelters and things like that. And so I've been talking about having a pet for a long time, and so they named the cat originally Brian Jr. And so I have a friend who still refers to him as that because that's what she decided. So
Okay.
I caught some grief for not saying that his other name is Brian Jr.
Okay. Should I press the sound effect button again?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like that.
Yeah.
He is starting to get he's starting to look a little more cat-like and a little less kitten-like, but he's still pretty adorable.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you need me? They don't make it anymore. I was going to say if you needed me to get you a subscription to Cat Fancy magazine.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Why would you
they
not
don't
want
make
that?
it anymore. They changed the name. I had a subscription when I was a child to Cat Fancy. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
you said two things. You
Yeah.
shared about the cat.
And then just my repeated use of that wasn't.
Oh, yeah,
that had nothing to do
use.
with what's
Okay.
cool in my life or great in my life. It just was stuck in my head.
It's just cool that you know those words.
Yeah. Yeah, and I proved it because I used them over and over and over. What I meant was trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so actually, now I have two things. I just wrote this one that I'm not sick anymore. Well, I'm still on my battery,
Yeah.
I got a little flu thing, but I'm feeling better now. But also, I'm just really happy for my two girls. They got their own apartment and they've gotten settled in. Their cat has been having a little bit of a hard time adjusting, but it's just really nice seeing them adulting, especially now when things are so expensive and it's hard to do that. So shout out to y'all. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Go girls.
Yeah, so you have to listen to my podcast now because I talked about you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna be famous.
So now, what is awesome at school?
I don't know if it's school related, but I went to the Q conference down in Palm Springs this last weekend, and it's an ed tech conference that I love going to for both the location but also the learning and the community and all of that. It was very AI coding and esports heavy, which I'm mixed on, because for most of what I do in the classroom, AI is not quite there for math yet. Esports is something I'm interested in, and I have run an esports class. I've run clubs and things like that. It's just not something I'm currently, like, I don't have a class right now. I don't have a club right now. And coding doesn't really go directly to anything that I'm teaching. So it was a little bit tougher to find the gems that would be helpful for me down there.
Yeah, I think my favorite 2 years ago when I went was the Google. They had all the Google tips and tricks.
Yeah.
That was always really cool to get those, like, before anybody else figuring things out.
Most of my favorites are those ones where they're throwing something out at you, like, every 20 seconds.
Slams.
But like, an hour of just different tools and strategies and things, so that if there are things, as you've been around for a while, especially in ed tech, you've seen some of the same things over and over and over. So going through 50 of them in a half an hour or something like that, or in an hour, you're gonna see some new things and be able to find one or two really cool
Yeah,
things.
I mean, I still use the force a copy. I still use that tip that was from like 2 years ago. I think I still use that force copy Google trick. Maybe I can do something about dropping that in our social.
Yeah.
If you're interested in force copies of Google Docs, it's really nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
So my school thing, I did collaborative study groups. It's an Avid strategy this week, and I had all of the kids act like Miss Chandler on their point of confusion. So with collaborative study groups, the kids are confused about something. I'm not going to go into a big long spiel about it, but the kids are confused about something, and they have to, they get in a little group together. Now I'm starting to go into it.
You're going to describe the whole process.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to say, so they just help each other. It's a study group. Well, they had to act like
structured
study group.
Yeah.
And so I said, you have to act like you're me and you're confused about this thing. And so I had a whole classroom full, well, not a whole classroom full, one at each group. I had 7 students acting like me. It was fantastic. It was really entertaining. But it was also just, I thought of it at the spur of the moment, and it ended up being this really fun moment for me and the kids. So
I'm
that was
absolutely stealing that.
Yeah, seeing them do their impressions of Miss Jones. Because I say things like y'all and water, and because I'm from the South, and Cindy and Mindy, and they were like, didn't even have anything to do with like the point of confusion, but they were still like using my accent.
Just running around going,
y'all,
randomly. Y'all.
Yeah, so it was really,
That's good.
very entertaining.
Yeah.
Now our next part, cool in school. So what is your cool thing that you want to share with the community today? So
I want to talk just briefly about an extension called Revision History.
Oh, yeah.
This is a good one. It doesn't really affect me in a math class a whole lot, but it's largely for Google Docs, and you download the extension, and when the extension runs, it will tell you how much of the document was copy and paste or cut and paste. It will tell you how long it took to write. It will tell you how many times they went back in to write on it. And maybe my favorite part is that you can watch a video that will walk through, it's obviously sped up, but it will walk through the entire writing process.
Wow.
So you can watch the words appear on screen, or boom, appear on screen.
So when they copy and paste it from ChatGPT or Google.
Yes.
You
Right,
can
because
see,
this is one
boom,
of those,
it pop in.
it's one of those things where it was when AI, maybe 2 years ago, everybody was like, oh my God, they're gonna just, like, how am I going to track it, and how am I going to check it, and how am I going to catch them, and all of this. And as of the last checker, I'm not an English teacher, so I don't do a lot of that kind of thing. But as of the last check, the AI checkers were kind of hit and miss. You get false positives, false negatives, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This will just show you, was it copied and pasted? Did they, like, you can watch a video of it being typed. It's incredible.
That's cool.
Yeah. When I first found it, I went to my old best friend. Well, he's a little bit younger than me, but yeah, we'll call him old anyways. He knows who he is.
Old man, get off my lawn.
Yeah, he teaches ELA and SLA in a dual immersion program, which is like mind blowing to be able to go back and forth and do all that. But he had a document that was in Spanish, and I found that it was all copied and pasted. And so the training video that I pushed out in the district that had that, I used him and kind of put him on blast for copying and pasting teacher
That's
assignments.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, and I see how this is different from, because you can go on the little, like, it's the little circle arrow
Right.
to go back in time. But sometimes what's really hard about that is clicking and finding exactly who did what, when, and for how. And it, I mean, it has all the timestamps, but the video is a game changer.
Yeah.
That lets you, like,
That's huge.
that's
Yeah.
a super easy way to do that. I was
Yeah.
thinking about something else when you were talking about all that. That was,
Puppies?
puppies, maybe. Maybe
Those
cats.
are not puppies.
So my cool thing that I wanted to share this week is a really like simple thing that I do with the kids in the morning. I have these 3 circles on my door. That's a high five, a fist bump, and a thumbs up. And so because I teach ELD and we're practicing our English. So when they come in, they always say, good morning, how are you? I'm good. We have a little conversation. But then they get to choose the high five, the fist bump, or the thumbs up. And the reason that I did that, because it used to just be a high five at the door. And then last year I had a student that was like, I'm not really comfortable with that. And so this was just a way for me to be like, okay, there's something here for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's just a really little simple trick that makes everybody feel included. And then some of the kids, you know, they want to do all of them, or they want to mix up. And your buddy that you were mentioning, he used to have like a whole like handshake thing that he did with his kids that was really awesome.
Yeah.
And so I stole that a little from him. So again, you're getting like lots of shout outs today. You better like and subscribe to this, my friend. Actually, we should have him on here. That would be a blast.
We should have him on here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So that's my cool thing.
Yeah. The thing I like about that too is I've seen similar things before, but it's always with the littles. Like that, this still works in middle school. It still works in high school. That kids want to be seen, kids want to be recognized, kids want to be heard, all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, getting them in the door. So for me, I remember I got them 4 periods. So I've got a lot of time. So if we're at the door for like a few extra minutes in the morning, it's not a big deal because I'm going through that whole good morning, come on, da. But the 1, 2, 3, that's like super quick. You can do a high five, a fist bump, or a thumbs up right as kids are coming in the door. And it's like a minute.
Yeah.
And it's that way just again to connect with the kids.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And transitions.
Yeah.
We're good at them, just like that. Today we are starting a segment, a multi-episodic event that will probably be 2 episodes.
You don't know. It might be more.
Yeah, maybe it'll be more.
Yeah.
We'll see. Entitled,
Get Off My Lawn.
Do you want to? You have a really good way of explaining this.
Yeah. So this came to me. I've mentioned before, I think, my wife is a teacher also, a middle school math teacher. And we have different styles and things like that. And it's, I tend to be kind of pie in the sky, here's this big idea and just throw it out. And she is much more structured and this is the way things are supposed to be. Both are fine, just different styles. I find myself pushing back on her sometimes when we're talking education, we're talking classrooms, and she will say, I'm so frustrated with this, or like, I don't understand why they won't just put their phones away, or whatever it is. And for me, I think about when I was a middle school kid, and I was that kid. Like, you know that boy in your class. We've all got that boy in our class. That was me. And I can remember feeling like my teachers, and not my parents, but like the generation above was very get off my lawn. Your hair shouldn't look like that. Like, it's every generation. The Beatles shouldn't have had long hair. Elvis Presley shouldn't have been shaking his waist, his hips, and all of that. And so,
that's my song.
yeah. And so one of the things I ask is like, is that real? Is it that phones actually affect their learning, or is it that that's not the way that we did things or do things in our own style? Like, I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand, and so that's a new thing. And so having that conversation, and it's not always, sometimes it is just the right way to go, is at least being kind of self-reflective or introspective and saying, am I doing this because it's what's best for the kids, or am I doing it because rock, get off my lawn, that's not how we did it? Like, am I shaking a stick at the clouds, or am I really doing what's best for the kids? Yeah.
So we have 2 topics that we're going to talk about today that are the get off my lawn.
Do we have 2 or do we have 4?
Oh.
Are we doing 2? Or are we?
Oh.
Well.
Oh. We'll see. We're going to do a certain number today.
Yeah.
We'll see what that number is.
Yeah, you can vote below.
Yep. See if you can count how many we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but we are going to take a side.
Correct.
And it might not be the side that we necessarily agree with.
Right.
But we're doing it just to kind of be open to that thing that you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. To where we're not just shaking a seeing if we are shaking a metaphorical stick or not.
Are you shaking a stick at the sky, or are you actually doing what's best for kids?
Yeah.
And again, like, it's just what we think. Like,
Yeah.
There's not really a right answer to this. I think the important thing is asking the question. Yeah.
Totally. So we're going to begin. How do you feel about beginning with social media?
Sure.
So the question that I have, and let me know if I need to tweak this in any way, should kids under 16 have it? Is there anything there I need to tweak, or do you feel like that's the...
No, I think that's okay.
good? Okay. So you are pro, right?
I am pro kids under 16 can have social media.
And I'm con. No, I'm shaking my metaphorical stick at the sky.
Yes. Chandler's going to be the old man on this one.
I could play the part.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, am I starting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so...
I think that's the way the rules go. I don't remember them all.
Are there rules?
Yeah, like in a debate.
Oh.
But, I mean, we don't really...
I don't know.
Well, there's
I was
the
not a
rebuttal.
debate club kid.
I wasn't either. I did it in my English class, but
Yeah.
it's been a minute, so we'll just do it this way.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I'll start since I'm pro. I think how do I want to start this? I think that social media is a tool, and like any other tool that a kid might use in school or not, you can make good decisions with it, you can make bad decisions with it. We were using tape measures in my classroom today, and some kids made good decisions and some kids made bad decisions with them. And I think that some of that responsibility falls on the adults. If my kid is going to be on social media, I think it's my responsibility, especially under 16, under 18 even, like, I think it's my responsibility to know what's going on. And I think that being shown the correct way to use things like that is beneficial. I think that I mean, the number of things I have learned on TikTok, and I'm a little bit older, so it's not quite the same as a 16-year-old and whatever, and I've got a little bit more self-control, although not always. I think with training and conversations about it and some supervision and things like that, that I don't think it's a terrible thing.
And I would say that if we had social media that allowed for training wheels, so you have a bicycle, a lot of times, sometimes you do throw the kid on the bicycle, but you're not going to put them on a motorcycle. You're not going to put them in a car without some kind of training. And I feel like the world of social media, there are no training wheels for the kids. It's just go into this world where there is stranger danger, bullying, sexually explicit content, addiction, and a lasting digital footprint that they get, but they don't really get. I think without some way to control and manage it, and I hate to use those words, like control and manage, it is very get off my lawn. I've seen websites created about students on social media, like these, I forget exactly what they call them, but like when I was a kid, there was a slam book. Mm-hmm. And they would write terrible things, and then you'd pass the book around and write terrible things about people. Yeah. So this kind of stuff has always existed, but it's on another level. And it's, anybody can create these terrible accounts about you. They can hide behind it. I feel like it's a lot harder to figure out who it is, because is this account created by somebody at the school? Is it created by some like adult creeper, like way out where? Like there's that piece. Right. And then just seeing the rates of depression and anxiety that have increased in students post-pandemic. And I think also, part of it was that, but I think part of it is this whole new world that they're trying to navigate. So what do you think about that?
For sure. I think, yeah. I think that, man, it's a little bit tougher arguing this side. I think that it's to me, it just comes down to limits. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are some social media things out there, some different variations of social media where they are trying to put those training wheels on it. But I think it still relies on somebody at home being engaged. Mm-hmm. The same as, like, you wouldn't hand a motorcycle to the kid and say, go. You put them on a bike, you help them learn how to ride it, mm-hmm. like over time with practice, they're able to ride a motorcycle.
Right.
But if on day one, the problem is that social media is being handed and it's just wide open with no rules and no management and not great for adults who don't have that kind of control. But it's also, for as much as we are talking education, mm-hmm. is it the school's responsibility to teach a kid how to use social media? That's a really good question. I don't have a good answer for that, because in some ways I feel, like shout out to the AVID program again, like the things that I feel like it could be something you could do in an AVID class, in a leadership class, but day to day with math and English and history and science, there are so many other standards to teach. Where do we fit that in? You know? Well, and is it the responsibility of a school to do that? Because if you send me a bunch of obnoxious Snapchats over the weekend, the principal can't do anything about it, mm-hmm. because it didn't happen on school grounds. It didn't happen during school hours. Don't quote me on those rules. That's just what I'm off the top of my head. But that for the most part, social media issues happen off campus and are not something that schools can, like, we can't, I'm sorry, moms and dads, we can't punish the kids who are bullying your kid on the weekend on Instagram.
I would say, though, when it bleeds over into school life, and I think that's the problem with social media that we haven't figured out just yet, is where is the line for things that are happening at school, and where is the line for things that aren't happening at school, because their whole lives are on this phone and on this device that travels with them everywhere.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe they do it on Saturday, but then they're coming to school and then it's affecting what's going on in the classroom in a really big way.
Of course.
So, yeah.
So what I would propose then is, if it's going to affect the school that much, I mean, we're not going to go backwards. We can't put this back in the box.
I don't know. I've got some pretty big boxes from Amazon that
yeah, but this is the USA. You're not going to tell people they're not allowed to do things.
That's very true.
I think it was Australia passed a hard ban on anybody under 16, 13. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was the UK. Somewhere
I think it's
somebody
Australia.
posted something. I can't remember what
Post
it
it
was.
in our
but
comments.
yeah.
And we can look it up later
yeah.
so we can get smarter.
I don't believe as a country we're going to go backwards and put that in the box. So if it's going to be a thing, then my way around shaking my fist at the sky is that we need to create some standards, or we need to look at, I mean, there are tech standards. Like, we don't always do them, but they're out there. And there are lessons that have been created for walking. Like, there's a website, and I'm spacing the name of it, but
www.com.
Yep. It's the one we're supposed to use to teach all of those.
See, I knew it from memory.
yeah. I think we just would have to be set on, like, everybody's going to have a class going into whatever grade, and you have it for a quarter or something, and it is going to be social media, Google apps, Microsoft apps, whatever it is that your schools use. It's going to be how to write an email. It's going to be your digital footprint, so whether it's on a phone or a computer, and that kind of thing. It's probably part of me wanting to blow the school system up and start over, but I think that I don't think phones are going away. I don't think social media is going away. We can keep pretending like it's not a thing that we have to address here, but if we don't address it, it's not going to get addressed.
Yeah, but I mean, addressing it, there's addressing it, right? You're right. We can't put it back into the box, but we can. I think it's different when it comes to protecting kids. I think that if we had, there should be something out there. I mean, I know it says on Instagram, no one under 12 years old, right, is supposed to create an account. Well, then let's make that a thing. Do I necessarily agree with a 13-year-old having an Instagram account? I really think it should start at 16. I really think that's when, and if you ask kids, the crazy thing is that when you ask kids and you say to them, do you think that you should have a social media account? Most of them will say no.
Yeah.
And they say no, and then they're like, constantly posting and doing all these things on social media.
Yeah.
I would maybe even argue that they want it. They want that. So maybe just a way to enforce that. And I agree. I don't think that that's like me flipping my side on here. I don't necessarily think that it's my job as a teacher either to be the end-all be-all teacher for social media. I think that I do think that job is for parents. It should, because when it comes from, because it can get bendy when it comes from me too, right? Like, because what if what I think about social media is different than what the parent thinks about social media? Like my idea about 16 years old, right? Like,
well, I think that's why it would be following a set of standards.
Yes.
It would be a class that every kid has to take. And because my mom can't tell you, my mom's a little bit older, my mom can't tell you how to use Snapchat. Not every parent has, I mean, we can't get parents to figure out how to do an email sometimes. So to then say, now you're in charge of explaining to a 12-year-old the new TikTok trend just feels unfeasible. If we as teachers, like, I think this is, I think maybe my only argument against the screaming on the yard is that the world has changed and we're still doing the same thing, which sounds familiar, like we were talking about last time. We're still doing the same thing and expecting different, like, we're just, social media is just there and we're not going to do anything about it. And if we don't, nobody's going to.
Yeah.
We have to change education and start making it relevant to the world that our kids live in.
I agree. Well, and I'll kind of end with this little snippet, because what you just said made me think about when we were kids. There were latchkey kids, right? Kids that went home. And again, this is not me, like, I don't want anyone to think I'm bashing on parents here, but
I was a latchkey kid.
what, like, you went home and then maybe you went outside and you lit a field on fire.
Yeah.
Well,
even
but it
when
was in that neighborhood.
But it was even more than that. It was, I'll see you when the streetlights come on.
Yeah.
And there was no phone. Like, you didn't know where I was at. I was out roaming the streets, all hours of the day.
And so now kids are roaming the world.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're a little safer because they are at home with their phone and they like being at home. Some of them like being at home with the phone. When I see kids out on the street riding their bikes, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
hello, you're doing awesome. Yes, the fresh air, the vitamin D, good
Yeah.
for you. They're like, crazy lady.
Yeah.
But now they're at home with their phones instead of, and they're lighting the world on fire from their like bedroom.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a difference in when I was a kid, I was probably more physically in danger.
yes,
Because I was just out unsupervised with no way to get a hold of me for hours and hours and hours. Now it is more dangerous mentally.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to physically get hurt by social media, not directly. Your mental state might falter a little bit because of it.
And I think that what you just said goes right to the data that's out there right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
get off my lawn.
Yeah. I think
Round one.
I think I won.
Ding ding ding. I'm the winner. Where's my trophy? Should it appear? We should have the trophy appear from the
We
sky.
should have like a bell, like a boxing.
Oh, do we?
Ding, ding, ding.
We might have a.
That's
There's another sound that would be better, but I didn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that
Anyways,
works, yeah.
Our next round two.
Okay.
Round two is phones, and I am pro phones, which is funny to go from being pro social media to pro phones.
Mhm.
Should kids have phones at school, at home, smartphones, or smartphones just to text and to call with? I think that's like the big question. I'm arguing yes, they should have phones, because the same argument that you used for social media is my very first one. They need to know how to use them. Things like calendar, email reminders, and notes. They need to know. Those are great tools that they have access to in their phones that they can use. Entertainment. Lunchtime should be their time to play games. If they want to play games on their phone with each other, it's like their entertainment, watch a movie. I'm going to say this is a really big one. Contacting parents. I tell you, I don't know how many times I'll be like, oh, is she going to pick up? Ring, 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 ring. Oh, is this the right number? Ring, 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 ring. But if I tell the kid, hey, can you call your mom? Mom. I get the mom right away, which is really great. And educational resources. I have kids that'll be like, hey, Miss Chandler, can I pull up my phone to show you something in my Google Classroom? So I think that's a really great reason to have a phone. Language transition and language translation apps. I'll go with my kids in ELD. I'll have like my phone out for them to translate with me, back and forth. But gosh, it would be great for them to just have their phone out to be able to translate right there with me, right on the spot. So there's
Okay.
my argument. I'm pro phones.
I am con, get off my lawn. I feel like I'm arguing the opposite side again of what I actually believe.
Yeah.
But this one I feel like I can get to a little bit easier. And I'm going to start with your argument. Contacting parents. I have had the same issue trying to get a hold of a parent from a school phone number. What I am finding though is I'm not the only one that might have a kid contact a parent. what happens is often, I don't want to go to this class. We have a test. I got in trouble. And all of a sudden, that kid magically has an early dismissal. They went to the bathroom, and now they have an early dismissal. Yes,
It's magic for them.
It is magic. So I see kids use it for the opposite. They're using it to get out of, they text somebody, they call somebody, whatever, and all of a sudden now they're going home, and so they're not getting what everybody else is getting at school, for good or bad. Also, not everybody has a phone. So if I'm going to train them on notes or calendar or whatever, either I have to do it on a device that everybody has. Most schools have Chromebooks either in the classroom or kids taking them, or I can't do it. Because what are you doing while our class is on our phones learning how to do that? I would argue that most of those things can be done on a computer, on a Chromebook, or whatever device you have. If you have iPads and you're fancy, I would argue it could be done that way. I think they are largely a distraction. I think that kids are using it all day to, not all kids. I think it is often being used for social media, for texting their friends, for talking to their girlfriend who's in another class at that point, for talking to mom so that they can see if they get out and something like that. And while it's fine, like I'm a big proponent of if you don't know how to do something, Google it. You've got a computer in front of you that does the same thing your phone does. And so I just think there are too many non-usable distractions, non-educational usable, that's probably not a thing, but non-usable in an educational setting.
I like the way you said it all confusing.
Non-usable education things. Yeah. I think the majority of things that are on a phone for a kid are not usable in an education setting, not a system, but a setting. And I think that's what they're largely being used for instead of setting reminders and things like that.
I was writing notes with my invisible pen because I don't know where my pen went for my rebuttals for some things, and I can't read my invisible ink. Rats.
Yeah.
I'll see if the contact parents thing comes back to me but I know that what I would have kids do is, hey, you can use your phone or you could use your Chromebook while we're going over this. It's useful for you to do it either way.
And can I push back on that real quick? When I say you can use your phone either way, how do I get them to not open up that Instagram message?
I gotta have some trust.
If there's a notification.
It's the same. I'm gonna say this for we have the app at the school that shows us everything that kids are doing.
Oh, like Go Guardian?
Yeah. I pop Go Guardian. I can't do that with their phones.
Right.
But I pop Go Guardian up on the screen, and I have absolutely no what is it that when you lock it in? I don't have like YouTube.
Oh, like a setting? Or,
I don't have settings where kids are locked out of scenes.
Yeah.
Where kids are locked out of YouTube or anything like that. I don't do that.
You also, and I agree that trusting our kids is super important, and I would argue that all over the place. You've got a very different class.
No, but I did it when I was before. I did that before.
Yes, but you were before at a school that had a lot of positive culture, and you could probably get away with that.
I'm telling you, I would do it no matter what classroom I'm in. It does not matter for me. I would do it in any classroom. I would set a scene. I would not set any scenes on my kids. I just wouldn't. I don't either. I just go and I close it out because again, you know what? I'm gonna look over somebody's shoulder and they might be doing something they're not supposed to, and then it's just about building that relationship. It gives me a chance to do that.
Right.
It is my goal when I create this beautiful lesson to have 100% of my students engaged and doing exactly as I've asked. Because don't you know what this is going to do for you in your future, blah, 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 blah. if I don't get that, I don't get that. It's not going to be like the end for me if I don't catch one of the kids on their phones not doing it, because maybe I taught it to 80% of the class, and that for me is a win.
Yeah, I agree, except for right now phones aren't allowed, and there are kids texting all day, every day, in almost every class. I would argue in our, I don't want to get super specific, but there's kids texting and watching TikToks and sending Instagram messages to their friends in other classes and stuff every single day, every single class. So if we said phones are allowed, I think we'd have to have a lot of, I mean, I think you'd instantly lose potentially half of a grade level.
Training wheels again. It's also about putting on the training wheels, and also if you're not using it, if you are not using it appropriately.
But how would you know that?
You know, if somebody's in there texting them, I know the difference, and you know the difference. I can look at a kid from across the room, and I can go, they're on YouTube, and I can look up on GoGuardian. I'm like, oh, look, I was right again. Go, Miss Chandler.
Yeah.
I just know.
But if their phone is here in front of them because it's allowed now, it's a lot harder to tell. Are you texting, or are you
is that
putting
where they're
something
going to have it
in?
the whole time? Or they're going to have it like right in front of them the whole time texting?
Well, why would they hide it?
But
if it's allowed?
it could be on their desk. It doesn't have to be like in their hand, like.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the way that you're using it. Again, it's about teaching them. I'm using your argument. It's about teaching them how to use it.
I know. We probably, one of us should have been both pro or both
I know.
con.
It's
Whatever.
yeah, but no,
Yeah.
it makes for fun. It does make for fun conversation. Yeah, because I mean, I feel like we're kind of winding this conversation down. I would say that when I feel pretty strongly. Should we talk about how we feel personally?
Sure.
I think I feel pretty strongly about the social media. I think I was definitely arguing the side that I agree with. When it comes to the use of phones, I feel a little bendy. I could go either way. I could go with, no, they need to be, get off my lawn, they need to be in your backpack turned off all day. Or I could go with, let's like set up a system, because it is about, for me, it's about a system.
Yeah.
Both, and maybe even that's the way I feel about social media too. Set up a system that sets the students up for success in using social media and using their phones. And if we don't have that right now, then let's put the brakes on it so that we can set that system up so that we don't have depression levels where they're at. We don't have students being bullied. We don't have students texting their parents to get out of class.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of those things.
Oh, so I win.
I think that's what I would argue too, is I don't actually rawr over cell phones. I would like to see them used a little more appropriately, but I don't always use my cell phone most appropriately. Like, I text in meetings also, like holding the kids to a standard.
I never have in my entire life. If my dad is listening, never once.
Yeah. That's when you pull your phone out and start texting.
Yeah, I know. Oh, what's that? No.
Yeah.
I know I put my phone over there, though.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, I try to look at things like that and say, if I can't do it, why am I expecting a 12-year-old to do it? I know it's not necessarily one-to-one, but it's pretty close to one-to-one with me. Like, I try not to ask kids to do things that I think are out of the range or out of the realm of like normalcy for us. If we can, whatever, why is the instant assumption that the kids can't? If we can learn to control our social media or our cell phones or whatever it is, it's dark, power bank. Yeah. If we can learn to control those things, they can learn too. They might need more support than we do because they're younger and newer to things, but the automatic, there's no way you will be able to do this as a 12-year-old makes me feel icky inside.
Yeah, I can agree with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were arguing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Our final topic for today, get off my long, or no, that's better, is cursive handwriting. It is so important. I feel deeply about this. Russell, you've seen me crying on the floor about this before.
I have.
Cursive needs to be taught. It's all I think about, really. All I think about.
Yeah. We should find you some new things to think about.
Maybe cats. Oh, that's not the cat button.
Oh.
But that was a good
That was a
time
good one,
anyway.
yeah.
So cursive is so important. First of all, you need to be able to read historical documents. There's a lot of things that kids can't read because they can't read cursive.
Do you need to be able to read historical documents?
Every day I wake up and I'm like, I pick a historical document off of my shelf and I say, I need to read this. Oh wait, I can because I know how to read cursive. And then I have a good day.
Y'all, I'm going to introduce Chandler to the internet.
Does it have cursive?
It does have cursive, but it also has historical documents in text.
Oh, yeah, but I want to read the original.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you then also going to teach the S or F or whatever that was written differently 200 years ago?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
And then any other writing before that until the beginning of time, really.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm going to be
Well,
teaching.
let's go back and do what are the pictures on the walls called? Like
Picture
in cave
pictures.
drawings? Pictures. In
Pictograms.
No, in caves. What are they-
Hieroglyphs.
There you go. Yeah, let's teach those.
It's next.
Yes, I can't wait.
Signing your name to a document. Nobody wants to see your name in print. It needs to be fancy and swirly. And the only way you can get a fancy swirly signature is by writing in cursive.
Y'all, I'm going to introduce Chandler to the internet again. I couldn't tell you, like, I don't sign things.
I do all the time. I'm always signing my historical documents.
Well, that's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're more into historical
It's
documents.
true.
than
And
I
my
am.
checks, I'm constantly, writing checks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and having to sign my name on them.
Oh, okay.
And thank God that Miss Cross, my third grade teacher, sat me down and had me write that C just so perfectly, top line, bottom line. I will say this though, cursive does help fine motor skills. You can't get that anywhere else. You can only get it from cursive.
I'm not an English teacher, so I'm going to take your word for that.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
the only place
It's
you
true.
get fine motor skills.
I'm dropping a truth bomb.
Yeah.
Also, and this one's actually true. There are some kids that actually enjoy it. I've had kids
Oh, yeah.
that they are like, "Oh, look, I can write cursive," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we don't teach that anymore."
I do have, every once in a while, I have a group of kids and we will stand around at the whiteboard all practicing different signatures and yeah.
Oh, so you're arguing for my cursive?
No,
Yeah.
because
think about it.
we don't teach it, and yet we still practice our signatures, and so they're getting what they need from somewhere.
Oh, no, I think an hour a day cursive. You know what I still can't really write in cursive is a Q, the cursive Q. I'm not very good at that.
Kind of looks like a 2.
Yeah,
It's been a long time.
yeah.
So when I was a kid, I had the worst handwriting, like even my printing, when I was in like 1st, 2nd grade. I used to get called down to the principal like twice a week or something like that, and I spent an hour writing all my letters every week or twice a week, whatever it was. It's a million years ago, I don't remember. But on those papers where it was like the big line with the dotted thing in the middle. And so I would do that and practice. I don't know, is that still a thing?
It is still a thing because kids still are learning.
Kids are
their
still learning to
ABCs.
write? Yeah.
Yeah, they're still
They
learning
didn't
the
stop
other
writing
kind of
after
writing.
me.
Yeah, they just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, you could text it.
Yeah.
And so it got in my head, and when I was a good student when I was little, and so we had E's, S's, and N's on our report card or progress report or whatever it was, and I would have straight E's all the way down, and then my handwriting would be like not even an E, S, or N. It was like some other letter that meant like Russell has some problems or something like that. And so I got to the point where I started practicing both my printing and my cursive, and I would write out the 26 letters in cursive separately, and then I would go these are the 13 I think I did the best. And then
wow.
I would rewrite those 13, and then I would cut it down to like 8, and then rewrite those, and that's how I killed time.
Yeah, you
I
have
was-
you have really nice handwriting too.
My printing comes from my dad.
Yeah.
My dad was, he was a teacher, but before he was a teacher, he worked on a naval shipyard on like blueprints and stuff. So having really nice handwriting was important, and I just modeled after his.
Well, I tell you, a lot of boys, I don't, you know, it's not like it's a boy thing, it's a girl thing, but for some reason, lots of boys have chicken scratch, scraggly handwriting.
I think it's
In
not
middle
wanting to
school,
spend the
too.
time.
Yeah.
That was the
Learning
thing for
different
me is
countries.
I don't want to take the time to write it out nicely when I was younger. So now, like now it's nice, but when I'm trying to get this done, and so it doesn't matter if you can read it or not.
Yeah, so I can, you know, run and scream and
Yeah,
throw things.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
the joy of life.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your arguments against? Did you hear how good my arguments were?
Oh, I forgot that I needed an argument for this.
I mean, oh my goodness, I just brought it.
My argument is, duh. Like, unless you are going to go into a historical document field, which I could argue you could learn cursive on TikTok, on your social media that you're allowed to have, because I won that argument also. Yeah, so I would argue that you can learn that if you need to, but it's just not a skill for the world we live in again. Like we talked about earlier, like education needs to catch up. We're never going to catch up with the world, but we need to move into the same century at least. Right now, we're not.
Oh, I'm supposed to be shaking my head.
No. No. Cursive served a purpose. My grandmother had beautiful cursive. My mom has beautiful cursive. I don't, because I don't do it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I got okay cursive.
Yeah. It just isn't, it's not a thing that gets used anymore. I mean, even the checks, like every once in a while, maybe you write a check and you're just signing your name. The rest can be printed. We're in a digital world now. Like
Yeah,
you
I
pay
mean,
with
even
Apple
PDFs,
Pay and all of that.
Yeah,
Like,
well, PDFs too. It used to still be that when you got an apartment or you needed to sign some stuff from the bank, not checks, but other important documents, that you still needed to sign your name on it. But now a lot of those have moved into whatever that DocuSign,
yeah.
that app, which I wish they would use for everything everywhere. So
Yeah.
I'm arguing against myself at
Yeah.
this point. But
Yeah.
historical documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we threw this one in, if only because maybe, and you can put in the comments or whatever, like maybe you know what the answer is to why it's so important to some people, but this feels like the most get off my lawn argument about education that I have ever heard in my entire life. Maybe not ever, but it's the one currently that I hear the most often, where people are just like, how are you going to live without cursive? I live without cursive every day right now.
Well, I don't. I live because of cursive.
Because of your documents that you're reading.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so cursive. They're so
Yeah.
curly.
They are. They're very curly.
Oh,
Yeah.
bring me great comfort.
Yeah.
And so, well, and real talk. I guess we can talk now about how we really. Real talk is that I agree with you. I can kind of see too, like if you needed to read historical documents, you'd take a class on cursive in college.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. It would just be a prerequisite for another class.
Yeah.
Real talk. And if you're out there too and you have some strong feelings about cursive and you're really mad at us because I do feel like we poked fun at you a little bit, I'm really sorry. Don't be mad. We don't understand, so help
Yeah.
us understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, do we have anything else to share?
I always have things to share.
Okay.
But nothing really specific.
Yeah, I think that would be the close of our show for today.
Okay.
And we hope that you do some things.
Yeah. Do
Like-
some things.
Like,
Subscribe.
what's the other thing you can do? Like, subscribe,
Follow. Share.
follow, share.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends to tell their friends.
Yeah.
Tell
Tell-
your friends to tell their cats
Yeah. And their moms.
and
Dads, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then everybody just go
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yeah. Go outside.
Yeah.
Put your phone down, go outside.
Bye.
Bye.